Welcome to the Happiness Drive Success podcast, brought to you by Motivate Coaching, the multidiscipline practice for extraordinary people. Here, we discuss finding your happiness and how you can use it to drive your success. Please welcome your host, co-founder, CEO, and master of discovering happiness, Stuart Isham Fairbairns. Hello, my wonderful friends. I hope you're having a spectacular day so far. Harlow and I are, as always, out on a hike. So today, I'd like to chat about the power that you have and the strength that you have that you're using right now that you could use in such ways that could serve you better for what it is you want to achieve. A very interesting thing I notice with a lot of my clients is a disconnect between where people want to be, what they want to achieve, and the actions that they take and the thoughts that they think. And in actual fact, they're going opposite directions or just different directions. So whenever you're wanting to achieve something and you're not getting there and it just gets frustrating and you keep trying, but at some point you just go, it's obviously just not meant for me. But oftentimes the disconnect is between where you want to go and the actions that you're taking to get there. If you wanted to climb to the top of a mountain and you turned around and walked off and were wandering around a city somewhere and you were consistently wondering why you're not at the top of the mountain because you're walking, it's because you set the wrong direction. But you're not seeing that. You're not paying attention to the map and direction of where you need to go. You're focusing on walking and then wondering why you're not getting to the destination. So it's about aligning that so that you look at the map every so often and go, go in the wrong direction, which is fine because you learn as you go along. But the more you course correct and you head in the right direction, you will get to the top of that mountain instead of wandering around the city aimlessly, wondering why you're not on the mountain. Now, that all sounds lovely, doesn't it? And often when we chat about these things, they sound simple, but they are hard. And the reality is they are simple and they are hard to implement. But it takes practice. And by doing that, and often it can be actually, I'm comfortable getting lost in the city and not ending up exactly where I want to go. And that usually comes from a fear around what it means to align the desires with the actions. Because it might take effort, it might be scary, there could be a past trauma there could be a future fear. However, by making that happen, you will achieve what you want out of your life. And purely by two things that I want to talk about today, that if we do them in parallel, you can really use those strengths and skills that you have to help you. So first of all, we talk about being happier, don't we? And happiness drives your success. Happiness is not skipping with joy down the street every minute of every day. That's not what it's about. That's an unrealistic expectation. It's not how we work as humans. That's joy. Joy we feel when someone has a child. Joy we feel when someone gets married. Joy we feel on our birthday. Now, joy and happiness are often smooshed together in one bag. But the reality is they are different things. Joy peaks and troughs. Joy goes up and down. It's like joyful, woohoo! Happiness is about, there's a great word which I don't believe steals from happiness. I believe it is the bedrock of happiness, which is contentedness. Being content. Now, content does not mean giving up. Content does not mean not trying anymore or limiting what it is that you have in your life. Content is just being able to take stock and recognize that you are on the right direction. You're climbing the mountain. Again, the goal being to get to the top of the mountain. And when you stop and look around, you see that you're closer to the mountain. You're closer to the top, whatever it may be. And it's being content with that progress. And it's seeing right now in my life, I'm content. I'm not possibly feeling the joy all the time, but again, that's not realistic. So you can always go out and find more joy, do some joyful things. And as you progress down this line consistently, you will achieve more joy as a result. It's inevitable. And what it comes down to is these two things that I mentioned that I wanted to explore today, which is discipline and doing it your way. Now, doing it your way, we've talked about in previous podcast episodes, and it's extremely important to do things your way because this is how we progress as a human race. It's how you as an individual are going to find more happiness and joy within activities, joy to start with, and then you'll build the happiness. Happiness is the big, solid, reliable thing in your life. Joy is the little peaks that we feel in between that remind us that we're on the right track, that remind us that there are beautiful things in the world. So by doing it your way, you free yourself to be able to feel more of that joy and thus build your happiness reserves, your foundation of happiness for you to launch yourself from. It took me a long time to learn about doing things my way. I felt that, was I late to the race? Was everybody else already doing this? Did people clock onto this when they're much younger? And perhaps lots of people did. But I think when you truly do things your way and you actually zoom out and you realize that there are things that you do that's just because it was how you were taught to do it or what is the right way, by questioning it and bringing your own methodology, as long as it's not negatively impacting others, give it a try. You might find a more efficient way to do something, and you certainly will probably find a more efficient way for you to do it, within which you'll have more joy, which will contribute to your happiness. So have a look around your life where you could potentially do things your way. What ideas do you have? And the other is discipline. So when I say discipline, you may have your own reaction to that specific word and whatever it represents in your life. But what I mean when I'm saying discipline is just consistency. If you want to get good at something, you must be consistent at it. So again, when we look at the disparate behavior to the thought, so the destination you want to get to, and then the direction that you walk, in the analogy of climbing the mountain and ending up in the city, is by you having the discipline to first get the map, so you know the route and you can work out the route to the mountain, and make sure as you're walking forwards, you're checking the map to make sure you're on track. And equally, there's going to be more things to think about, as there always are in life. It's never just one easy action gets you where you want to go. There's going to be multiple things to do, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine, because why? You're going to do them your way. So you want to make sure that you're eating food that empowers you as you're going on this walk to the mountain. Again, remaining in this analogy for the purposes of example. You want to have water with you, maybe some electrolytes, whatever else it is. Yeah, nut trails mix. I mean, everyone uses different things. Do it your way. So you're going to be on this mission moving forward to your desired destination. So it's about that consistency, that discipline. Now you marry the discipline of creating that direction and making sure that you've got that map, which leads me to such a fantastic question, which I absolutely love asking my clients, is if we were to look at a progress level, let's say a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 is you've reached the top of the mountain and 1 is you haven't even started, where would you put yourself right now? So whatever that number may be for you. And then if you were to go from, let's say you said you were at a 3 currently out of 10, so okay, well, how will you know when you've got +1, when you've got to a 4 out of 10? How will you know? And the great thing about that exercise is the more you think about it, the more you really sort of craft how you're going to stay focused, how you're going to keep that discipline, that consistency, to make sure you do get where you're going. What it does is it kind of forces your mind into thinking about what will be the things along the way that I can identify, or what comes up into your mind when that question comes up. So whatever it is that you want to achieve right now, that you're looking to get out of your life, where are you now on a scale of 1 to 10? And how will you know when you've gone +1? Just +1. We're not looking at getting to 10. We're not looking at the final result. We're just, how will you know you've got that far? And then if you want, you can go, how will you get to +2? So these things we have discussed in certain situations and ways and scenarios in other podcast episodes. What I want to sort of look at specifically today is discipline, so consistency, and doing it your way when we look at where we're standing right now. Because let me explain. Today, the way the world works with the internet, the digital era that we're in, a huge amount of it is future focused, and a huge amount of it is drama, and a huge amount of it is what could well be perceived as aspirational, but actually what it often does to the viewer is it just makes you feel as though you're behind the race. When I go on social media now and I have a look around, I have never seen so many millionaires or billionaires in their early 20s ever before. And it's not because social media has allowed us to communicate and therefore we can now see them because they have a platform to share on. The reality is that they're not. They're not. You look at you look at pictures that you see on these social media platforms, and people put on their makeup, they do their hair, they put on their best outfits, they are out to lunch, they see a celebrity, they do other things, they share the highlights of their lives. So what you see when you look at social media is this beautiful, perfect picture, and we think, oh, that's amazing. Why? And you'd imagine that the question could be, that's great, how do I get there? Show me how you've done it. But actually, what really happens inside of ourselves is, why am I not there? What did I do wrong? They're so much younger than me. They're so much more pretty than me. They're so much fitter than me. They're so much more wealthy than me. Like, am I just too late? Should I just give up? And that's the more common psychology. And it's not real. You're looking at smoke and mirrors, effectively. You're looking at something that doesn't exist. It's the highlights of someone's life. It's those joy moments. And people are fabricating joy moments. And you'll probably find that whilst that person smiled for that photo, they are dependent on the responses that they get within the comments to how they feel. They're reaching out for help. They're reaching out for the validation that they're looking for in their lives. But ultimately, it's shouting into the wind. There's no one there to listen. There's no one there to hear. And then the really tough thing is that of the 1,500 comments that go up there, one person says the negative thing that you don't want to hear, and that's the one comment out of those 1,500 that person hears. That's the one comment that person feels. Even though they've got all of that positive commentary back, that one negative comment floors them. Now what that means is that our resilience, our discipline, our strength within ourselves is being compromised because we're being reactive. We're relying on external validation in order for us to be able to live our lives, to just put on a smile in the morning, to leave our bedrooms, to go to work, to look after the kids, to pick them up from daycare, to get that promotion, to do all of these things. We're so reliant on the reaction of others. It leaves us in a volatile life where you might be as confident as anything just before you go into this presentation, feeling so good about what you've put together. You know you're going to smash it and the client's going to love it. And then someone outside the room says something to you about your presenting ability. And it may have even been trying to be constructive by saying, oh, remember not to do this or something like that. And if you're a reactive person and you're being reactive in that moment, that could floor you. And then you now mess up the presentation. Now you feel awful. You don't win the account and blah, blah, blah. You know what happens thereafter. So you have fantastic strength, resilience, discipline, consistency, and by doing it your way, you can feel freer. You can be less reactive, more proactive. So if we look at the world today, if you look at your world today, your happiness is going to be found within being content with where you are in your life, not projecting yourself into the future, possible future that's been painted on a social media platform, one that's just impossible to achieve, trying to climb a mountain that doesn't exist. You're going to spend your life wandering around looking for this mountain. There is no map for a mountain that doesn't exist. So by you creating maps for things that don't exist, you're going to be walking in circles following a map that isn't real. It's found in accepting the reality of where you are, of who you are, and being proud of that. It doesn't mean that you have to love every single aspect. It doesn't mean that when you think about yourself, you have to feel these huge waves of joy flooding over your body. It's not about that. It's about you being you. You're alive. As the wonderful Gary Vee, he talks a lot about, it's a miracle that we're alive. Out of the millions of contenders for coming into this world, you made it. To be here, there's 1 in billions of a chance of being here on this planet, and you're here. And this is not a matter of just being grateful for things and trying to just be oh happy la la la, because it's not about the joy. It's not about skipping and jumping around. It's about creating that foundation, that base of happiness, of contentedness, that you're alive, you're here, you're able, you've got a brain, you've got a body, you have abilities to create. And it's not spending too much time on future forward focused, projecting yourself into a parallel world where you are a different person, where you are more successful, where you were a millionaire, billionaire by the time you were 21, where you looked like the most handsome or beautiful person on the planet, whatever it may be, wherever you wish you were. All that does is steal from you. It steals not only your joy, that's the first thing to go, the ecstatic excitement, but it starts to chip away at that all-important foundation of happiness. It starts to break it down. And then when you find yourself, when you've lost that foundation of happiness, you've got nothing to hold on to, nothing to stand on. And you're just floating around, and then you spend your time searching in your mind for looking back at, what could I have done wrong? How could I go forwards again? What could I repair? Or looking forwards at, where could I be? And it's all just, you feel these occasional little blips of joy because, that looks amazing, that's great. Can you imagine being in this beautiful house in this beautiful place and feeling so free and owning it all, and the thought just makes you feel this little flutter of joy. But it's not real. It's very temporary. And it does come with a hangover. It's a lot like alcohol. Alcohol releases dopamine, you feel great, you have fun, which is why people use it to hide from the world. But the next day that hangover is coming, sure as the sun rises. Being content with who you are. So using that discipline and using that consistency, using that doing it your way, start by just being content with who you are. Accept who you are, what you have to bring to this world, because the person that you are is powerful. You have all of these psychological, emotional, and physical abilities, which is incredible. So how can you use what it is that you have to get where it is you want to go? And if you want to be a Formula One driver, then what are the steps you need to take? If you want to be fitter, healthier, what are the steps you need to take? And do it your way. It doesn't mean you have to go to the gym for 7 hours a day and start drinking protein shakes. You do it your way. Is our weights better? Is cardio better? Is diet better? Is it a balance? Is it a combination? What is it for you? If you want that promotion or you want things to move forward, what is it for you? You have the ability to discover so much more core base foundation happiness within your life by just being more consistent and having that discipline and doing it your way. And remember, if you want to get somewhere, the focus is not on, again in the analogy of hiking up this mountain, the focus is not on every step walking every day. In the form of this analogy, when you're looking at what to focus on, you will be thinking about the destination, where you want to get to, the top of the mountain. You will be thinking about the actions you need to take to get there, which is walking the steps. Or perhaps you just assume that walking the steps is going to have to be there because how else are you going to get there? But don't forget that all-important map or the GPS, because there isn't just one step between where you are and the top of that mountain. There are likely thousands. So again, ask yourself, how will you know when you're making progress? And what is it you're going to have in place to act as that map? And those two very much combine with each other. Consistency, discipline, doing it your way. Folks, there's nothing that you can't achieve if you want to. But right now, I don't want you to be spending too much time focusing on where you're going to be in future. I want you just to spend some time today thinking about who you are, being proud of who you are, the physical ability that you have, the psychological ability that you have, the emotional ability you have to show up for yourself and for others. Just do that today. We're not looking at taking over the world. We're not looking at creating huge aspirations. We're actually looking to feed directly into that foundation of happiness for you to stand on, that you can then elevate yourself to where you want to go. This is a very important exercise that you can do on a regular basis. And there's all sorts of ways to do this that people do. That you could do journaling, you could do meditation, you could do all sorts of walks in nature, time with friends, cooking, whatever it is for you that kind of just contentedness that also shows you, and you can stop every so often and think to yourself, how amazing is it that I can do this? It might sound simple, it might sound silly, but it all feeds back into your reaffirming and building resilience around who you are and what you can do. It's pretty cool stuff. Ladies and gents, I've got your back. You've got your back. You're amazing. Please come and join us on the online community on Facebook. If you search in Facebook for Join Your Happy Place, inside there's lots of great inspirational and motivational material. There's also more episodes of this podcast, so please do go through and have a listen to more. In the description of this podcast is all of the details to get in touch with me. There's a link to the Facebook community. So if you would like to have some coaching, get in touch and we can help get you where you want to go. Also, there is a ebook that I've written, which on the website you can download for free, 10 Ways to Be Happier Today. And the website is motivate-coaching.com. There's also a very special gift inside that ebook for everyone and anyone who downloads it. So please do go and take advantage of that as well. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for tuning in and have a top banana day.
Thanks so much for listening. If you're interested in learning more, go to the Motivate website at www.motivate-coaching.com. If you'd like to get in touch with Stuart directly, you can get him at Stuart, spelled S-T-U-A-R-T, at motivate-coaching.com. Thanks so much for joining us, and remember, your happiness drives your success. See you next time, folks.